Episode 51 of Reincarnated as a Slime. I am sick of hearing about Falmouth. I am so sick of hearing about Falmouth. I have to admit, this is not my favorite episode. There's some tidbits in there, and I think it's a lot of, like, flagging. Based on my predictions, it feels like they're extremely flagging something here, but I am so tired about hearing about Falmouth. They better do something really good with that country, because I was already there with the last episode. I'm like, yeah, that's still there. Wrap it up. But this episode, they're bringing it up again. I'm like, okay, let's just wrap it up at this point. We're kind of retreading the same waters here. Yes, we get it that Ed Morris is the previous king. Edward's the new king. They're trying to get him. He's now over here. They're trying to trigger war. I get it. Let's move on. Anyways, that aside, that whole thing aside, before I get started with this episode, yes, I apologize. I was saying Rimuru, and it's actually Rimuru. I have a document off the side that I keep track of all the characters because I cover way too many shows and too many characters. And for some reason in the document, I had an E in there. So my brain kept seeing that, and I kept saying that. So I apologize. I deserve it. I deserve it at this point. But with that said, let's move on. The episode itself, though, yes. I think the more interesting bit in this is really the end. I think the end segment with, Rimuru bringing everybody together and saying, okay, here's the situation. He's updating everybody. He's saying, yes, I became a Demon Lord. And even though I've met with pretty much every single one of you separately, you know this already. Let's just make sure we establish it. I am a Demon Lord now. And yes, they basically gave me this entire forest. And I like how everybody's kind of panicking. I really did feel like when everybody was panicking over him announcing that, yes, this is my domain. This is what they've assigned to me. They're like, yeah. And he's like, wait, was that a bad thing? Yeah, that's right. There's a forest on the other side of the river, and we haven't even touched that yet. So you're basically saying, hey, anybody in this area, a Demon Lord now owns you. And if you use any resources or anything over there, you have to ask for permission first. So while they've been living over there that entire time, they now have to come over and see you and say, hey, thank you for letting me live in that land. Can I grab the trees or whatever? So it is, yes, an interesting thing. They all kind of panic there, but it's more of like, yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done now. Which his response is good and technically bad. Like, it's good in the idea of like, yeah, he has a good idea. Let's just bring them all at once. Let's just throw a big party. And that's actually good for, our town and everything, because then they'll bring people in. It'll increase the interest in us. And yes, we can even get people with talent to come here to help us build. But my brain immediately goes to the previous episode where we had that whole discussion about the angels and how, yeah, he's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now he's going to make a big, massive announcement saying, look at me, come look at me. I just really feel like the whole angel thing was just mentioned way too many times in the previous episode that they're flagging something here, and he's getting too big, and now he's getting even bigger, and now we have all the refugees coming from this episode, and they're wanting to build over here, and oh yeah, by the way, we need to build roads out to here. It's just so much emphasis on building and growing, along with that idea there of possibly somebody not liking people getting too big. That whole thing is there, so we'll see, but for now, it's a little bit of a question mark there, but I do agree with him. Good way to kind of get that all out of the way, bring people over, introduce himself, make his big debut, and just get it over with. Get it done and wrapped up with. Rather than, yes, spinning over and over again with people asking, can I go over here now, setting up schedules and all that kind of stuff, and him meeting with who knows how many people. I don't really have a full idea of the scale of just that area over there. But even, I realized that when they showed like, oh yeah, here's all these people over there. And they mentioned earlier about this border area to the Tengu. And it's like, oh yeah. And they even show it in there. There's a Tengu. Yeah, he's going to have to meet the Tengu. So I don't know if the Tengu is going to be something that's going to be a problem, or if he's going to have to, if that's going to be easily dealt with. It seems like Benimaru is going to go over there to see him first, but it seems like them bringing up the fact that that's his domain now. Is it Benimaru still going to visit them, or is it going to be like, no, let's just have them come over when we have this big party and we'll meet the Tengu at that point? Do they want to? What do they want to meet? That's all a massive question mark. So I don't know. We'll see. Based on the fact that the Tengu are sort of described as being sort of people that like war, they're okay with doing war. You would assume that somebody coming in and claiming this area, it's set, the way that it kind of described it is that you have these mountain areas up here that's bordered with the forest itself. And by having this land here and basically having the roads go through there, they might have a problem with it. But it doesn't necessarily say anything about the forest, unless the forest being like bordered with the actual mountains where the peaks are, where the Tengu are, that's going to be enough to kind of set them off. But that doesn't say necessarily anything about them owning the mountains itself. So that's the question mark. So I don't know. We'll see how much kind of conflict that actually has. And again, they technically did show the Tengu race when they were saying that all these people are going to have to come meet you. So it implies that, yeah, they're a part of it, or they may be so close, or maybe in the territory of it. So it's going to have to happen. So we'll see. But yeah, that was a whole interesting bit. I did like that they kind of get a little bit of cleanup going on with the whole situation with Yorozania. That whole situation, yes, technically Milim blew them all up, so we gotta do something with them, bring them on over, which did technically open up the door to a little bit of self-reflection that I did technically like. That it's not as if I've ever felt like with this series, Rimuru has actually spent enough time to really reflect on himself and his previous life. But it's nice to have every now and then the idea of, yes, technically Geld dealing with all these people, struggling with communicating to them, even kind of sort of propping up Rimuru and his ability to do that. Like, you're so amazing, and I'm reminded once again of how amazing you are because you were able to do all this stuff. And here I am trying to be useful to you and do the same thing you do and lead people, and I'm realizing just how ineffective I am. I can't seem to get these people to work the way I want them to work. Some people, the communication is not working, and those that it's working with, those that do work and they're hard workers, they're not effective enough. So he's like, how do I get these people to work? How can I convey that and get them bolstered up and everything? He's struggling with communicating to these people. And it was interesting that having that conversation happening between Geld and Rimuru, I like how he sort of, tries to cheer him up. It's a good time to have a drink. He's like, I'm thinking back to my old days of being a salaryman, dealing with all this stuff, and this is how I dealt with it. Let's just go out to have drinks. Let's just let it out, kind of thing. But again, it was like a little bit of self-reflection there in the idea that him immediately going back to his previous life. How that he, in his previous life as a salaryman, having to deal with people that mess up, but they don't want to admit it, or they pass the blame, dealing with, bosses that want to shift the blame, people that don't want to do their work, they're being lazy, all these things that he had to deal with, which is odd because him now as a leader in this other world for as long as he has been, you would assume that would be the immediate thing that comes to his mind, but no, it's this, which is odd. And that may be because he's so used to in this new life being surrounded by people that are reliable, which technically is a key point in this episode. He's very much so reflecting on how everybody is sort of self-sufficient. Everybody's making decisions and doing things in a way that is beneficial to him that he's not having to pursue and do himself. They're handling things, which, yes, makes him fearful that he's no longer useful. Do they even need me anymore? Yes. Everybody responds, yes. They're not getting rid of you, Rimuru. So yeah, that was all kind of a cute little segment there. And again, I like the self-reflection. I like the idea that he's able to kind of look at himself and kind of see what he's gone through and sort of support Geld in that way. Like, yeah, I've been through that. Let's just go hang out, enjoy ourselves, all that kind of stuff. It is interesting that they brought up the Western Church as well, mentioning, I think it was Diablo was mentioning the fact that, yes, technically they did try to contact the Archbishop, which was one of the three that was the only ones that survived that battle, trying to find out what exactly happened. And it's kind of one of those interesting things, how you kind of see how communication doesn't quite flow as well for everybody in the show as us, because we're seeing all these different perspectives. That's like the whole thing with Falmouth. We go to Falmouth and they're like, oh crap, let's just go back there and attack them. And then suddenly somebody comes in and says, yeah, by the way, Clayman's dead. And then if somebody else comes in, yeah, Rimuru is a demon lord. It's like they're learning just now. Well, that's the flow of the information to these people. And yes, that seems to be the case with the whole situation with them contacting the archbishops. Yeah, technically, they already know. They technically should already know because Luminous knows. But they could have been trying to contact it before then. So it kind of just sort of pushes the idea that Rimuru himself probably needs to go communicate to them to let them know exactly what happened, in a sense, even though they technically should already know. Now, granted, yes, technically everything that happened there was sort of separate to Luminous and the whole situation with Rimuru and the meeting and everything like that. So maybe they still would like that clarification, but still. Another interesting thing that was brought up from Diablo was specifically the puppet nation of Destav, which was working under Clayman. Now, this is kind of seemingly opening up a door to possibly having Rimuru sort of do a little bit of adventuring, which I think will be kind of refreshing for how things are going right now. Because yes, obviously we've been doing a lot of meetings. I think ever since early second part of second season all the way into now has been mostly all, besides maybe one episode, mostly all just meetings. So it might be refreshing to have just Rimuru go out and just do some adventuring, do some dungeon diving, whatever, or ruin diving, because it seemed to imply that, yes, this is this dark elf nation that was brought under Clayman. It seems like they know where the ruins are of their kingdom, which could have a lot of items there, artifacts, which seem to be sort of what was funding Clayman. So Rimuru's response is literally, let me go look at it and make a decision. Don't tell anybody about it. Seemingly implying that, which is kind of a curious question mark. Why was he wanting specifically to go check it out before anybody else knows? He says literally keep it between us rather than, I don't know what, tell some of their members of the uppers that's there so they can go check it out. It's kind of a question mark there. And again, I assume because maybe possibly he wants to see what's there himself rather than maybe whatever may be there may fall into the wrong hands. It's a question mark. I was kind of curious as to what his mindset is there, and I guess we'll find out eventually. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, other than that, we had Gabadu show up and talk to Rimuru about how he got beat up, and Rimuru telling him how, no, he's doing well. Comparatively, he's really strong, and eventually he'll get there. So it was a little bit of a pep talk there, but yes, additionally that they're going to teach Milim's people how to cook because she wants good food like what they have at their town. Which, yes, that's Milim. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Besides Benimaru getting teased for hanging out with Albus too much, which that's kind of funny. The sister's a little jealous, but anyhow, yeah, that's episode 51 question mark 51. Yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed my impressions of the episode. I'm looking forward to next episode. Hopefully we can get a little bit of a change of pace. Not that I don't like the meetings, just again, certain things like Falmouth, I'm just kind of sick about hearing about. So but yeah, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button down below, comment, let me know what's all the episode. Additionally, if you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button to get my content. I do news reviews, first impression, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Just if you like this content and you want to support the channel more, I have Patreon link, tips link, super links, membership button down below. Greatly appreciate what it does, and y'all take care.